Can everybody see my screen here?
Just
Not
loading,
yet, Prabhuji.
Prabhuji. Yeah, yes, we
now.
can see it.
Yes, Prabhuji. Now we
Yes,
can.
Prabhuji.
Yes, yes, Bhaji.
I'm trying to make it full screen. My laptop is too slow now. Using a very old laptop. Hare Krishna. Okay. Pardon me, it's too slow. Okay. So you can see that? Everybody can see that?
Yeah, yes, Prabhuji.
Okay.
Yes, Prabhuji.
So this is Madhurya Kadambini. Kadambini means a cloud bank of nectar. Madhurya, that is nectar. So this is Krishna's Madhurya Rasa. Krishna is Akhila Rasa Murti. He is the embodiment of all the rasas, the 5 major rasas and the 7 secondary rasas. Srila Rupa Goswami is Rasacharya. He is the teacher of the science of the rasas, So we are going to be talking about that. So here, this Madhurya Kadambini is the Sanskrit composition of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. He is one of the stalwart leading acharyas of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. Okay. So this is the course about this Madhurya Kadambini, the cloud bank of nectar. It's a 24-lesson course and thematically structured as all of my courses are. That's the study plan. And it'll run through today, April 21st to July 28, tentatively, of course. I'm the lead instructor, but I'm going to be assisted by my colleague, Sharad Prabhuji. So today is inauguration, and I'll give you some introductory outline and also a preview. Okay. So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So first of all, what kind of textbook we are going to be using? This is the book we are going to be using. Let me show you that book also. Is this book, it's a very, very extensive, very nice book. So here is Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and here is Samadhi. So we will very respectfully offer our obeisances, Dandvat Pranams, to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, and humbly begging for his mercy and blessings, so that we may all conclude this course successfully. All right. So he has a very interesting way and a very, very poetic way of introducing his book. So he compares that with a plant of bhakti, prema bhakti. All right. So here, Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as we heard Prema Vivarta class, right? Jagadananda Prabhu's class. What happened? Sorry about that. So, Shri Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is also exactly no difference. He is Krishna himself, but he has come in the mood of Srimati Radharani and have assumed the golden complexion of Srimati Radharani. So he, just as Krishna is the Akhila Rasamurti, embodiment of the rasas, the Krishna's 4 particular principal rasas that Rupa Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, Lila Madhurya, and so on like that. So is Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also, So here the author, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, is begging to the Lord. So he's saying that, so he's comparing, giving a nice analogy, how bhakti can germinate in our heart. As you can see right in picture, he compares with this plant, a bhakti plant. So this is the ground properly prepared, just like we normally, before we plant a seed, we want to make sure the ground is fertile. All the ingredients are there. Fertilizer is there and everything. So here we are planting a seed, Bhakti Lata Bij, in the heart, which is the field. Okay, we'll go in great details about this Bhakti Lata Bij plant. When it germinates, the first two leaves come out, and he has a nice analogy for all these different steps. So basically, his Madhurya Kadambini is really an expansion of just two verses from Srila Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasa Bhakti Sindhu, beginning from this 9-step process, beginning from Shraddha or faith, all the way to Krishna Prema, okay? And it goes to these various steps. When you have this basic Shraddha, that leads to Sadhu Sangha, the devotee association, and the spiritual master comes in our life, and he initiates this bhajana kriya. He engages us into performing, rendering devotional service, bhajana kriya, and then bhajana kriya leads to all the anartha nivrutti, all the inauspicious things that is there within us that is impeding our progress on the bhakti path, that are gradually removed. Almost all of our anartha, not all, but almost, that are removed from our path. And then we leads to this, so that is called anartha nivrutti, retirement of all the anarthas, unwanted, inauspicious elements from our heart that are impeding our progress on the devotional path. So then only our bhakti becomes steady, nishtha, sincerity comes into us, nishtha bhakti, and then that leads to the taste of rendering devotional service, natural taste, and that natural taste progresses further into what called asakti. Asakti means attachment. Without rendering devotional service, we cannot be really very comfortable, so that great attachment develops, and that attachment ultimately, so all these stages, this bhakti, nishtha bhakti, ruchi, and all this, they are all part of our sadhana bhakti. So there are 3 stages of bhakti that we all learn from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, or Nectar of Devotion. Sadhana bhakti are 2 kinds. So I'm very quickly reviewing that you are all aware of it, just that what is relevant to this course, that I'm kind of reviewing it. Sadhana bhakti, there are 2 kinds. One is the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti, when we don't have a natural inclination towards rendering devotional service, then by obligation to a guru, we do that according to the scriptural injunctions, under the guidance of a guru, and guru engages all of our bodily senses in rendering devotional service. Okay, so that's called Vaidhi sadhana bhakti. Then there is Raga sadhana bhakti, Raga bhakti. That is, these devotees have natural inclination, but they want to perfect it. So they follow in the footstep of the Ragatmika Bhakta, the residents of Vrindavan, gopis, so both can go one after or together also. As we learned in Sri Raghunath Das Goswami's Mana Siksha, we learned about that. So then the Ruchi, then Asakti, and then this Sadhana Bhakti leads to Bhava Bhakti. Then the heart becomes really soft, full of emotions. And we serve the Lord through our emotions at the Bhava Bhakti. And Bhava Bhakti ultimately fructifies this prema, the fruit of the Bhakti Vriksha, So prema fruit is the ultimate one, So here, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur has a very interesting way to explain all these 9 steps in great detail that we'll go through that. So he compares this like a cloud, monsoon cloud. As you all know, in India, we have monsoon season, right? So after the very harsh summer season, when the land has become parched, dry, nothing can grow. So here we are trying to plant a Bhakti Vriksha, Bhakti Lata Beach. So here is praying to the Lord, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is praying actually, that this monsoon season, which the clouds are saturated with moisture, water, right? And it dissipates all the scorching heat, and the plant can grow, So here also it's praying to the Lord that during summer, that means summer means we are tortured by the heat of this lust that within us, to remove that, and this cloud pouring torrential rain. But here rain is actually the nectar of prema, prema for the Lord Shri Krishna. So that showering us, drenching us, that's what is praying. And that analogy goes much deeper as we will go. I'm just giving you a highlight of it. So here, let me read that. Krishna Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is exquisite sweetness personified, because Srimati Radharani and Krishna both combined within him, is a surging bank of clouds that brings this life shower to the grain that we just planted in our heart, the Bhakti Lata Bija, that has to germinate and grow fully until the fruit, the prema fruit, yields it. So newly planted in the field of heart, and by its auspicious approach, extinguishes the intense summer heat of lust, bestowing rapture to the universal river of living beings. So we are just like when a heavy torrential rain happens, drenching rain, it flows. That's exactly like that. So entire Sanskrit composition of this Madhurya Kadambini by the author Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is really an elaboration in great detail. Every step of these 9 steps, we are going to learn about these things. Okay, so it's a very, very useful course for all of us. So that is this Bhakti Lata Vriksha. So before going, I'm just going to touch upon extremely briefly, very, very briefly, the biographical sketch of Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Its approximate date, no one knows exact date of birth, but somewhere in the early 17th century, 1626 until 1708, that's roughly, no finite date is really known. And his initiating guru was the 4th in line from Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Many of the prayers, bhajanas that we hear is from Narottam Das Thakur. So Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur comes in the line of Narottam Das Thakur, with whom actually, he resided for many years, composed many books during that time. His initiating guru, who is the 4th in the line of Narottam Das Thakur. So right from childhood, he's a very scholarly personality. He was, even while he was a student, he defeated many conquerings. He conquered many scholars while he was still a student. So he was that bright and very gifted student, especially in Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. As usually happens in those times, the parents used to get the children married at a very young age. So same thing happened to Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur also. He was married at a very young age, but he was not at all interested in Grihastha life. And finally, he renounced his family life later on and devoted completely, fully to the mission of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then he came to live in Vrindavan, in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's Bhajana Kutira at Radhakunda. And there he studied all the books, especially of the 6 Goswamis, including the Shada Sandarbha, 6 Sandarbhas of Srila Jiva Goswami, and really wrote very scholarly commentaries on their writings, including Rupa Goswami's writings also. So he was really a prolific writer on the Gaudiya Vaishnava philosophy. And notable among, of course, Srimad Bhagavatam commentary called Sharartha Darshini. So it's a very brief sketch, but just to kind of know how scholarly Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur had been. So now, here, what Srila Prabhupada writes in his Bhagavad Gita commentary, chapter 4, 10th verse. So that gives a somewhat summarized version of what this course is about that 9 steps, Shraddha to Prema, we just talked about. In the beginning, one must have a preliminary desire, Shraddha, somehow. And Shraddha comes from the mercy in some lifetime before. Some great devotee of the Lord must have entered, and we must have some sikriti, some good deeds without even knowing agyata sikriti, and we might have attracted the mercy of the devotees of the Lord. That's how we develop Shraddha in this lifetime. So basic Shraddha, faith must be there. And Shraddha has a root in the scriptures. Okay. So this will bring one to the stage of trying to associate with saintly personalities. Okay. And then a guru enters in our life and he initiates us by an elevated spiritual master, and under his instruction, this neophyte devotee begins the process of devotional service. So by executing the devotional service under the guidance of the spiritual master, one becomes free from all material attachment. So here Srila Prabhupada is talking about the Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, okay? When we don't have natural inclination for rendering devotional service. And he engages our bodily senses. So there are 3 components of Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti. First, engage our senses which are materially contaminated. To need to purify, we engage utilizing our senses and the mind under the scriptural injunctions, what scripture says, but under the guidance of this bona fide spiritual master. Okay. And then the taste buds, one further forward attachment for Krishna consciousness, then the steadiness of bhakti develops. In the beginning, there is no steadiness. Nishtha bhakti develops. Okay. And the Nishtha bhakti, as I just explained you a few minutes before, it leads to all progressive stages, and we make progress. So ultimately, the mature bhava stage comes, the preliminary stage of the transcendental love of God. So sadhana bhakti, bhava bhakti, and then ultimately prema bhakti. And don't worry, each and every step Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur takes us in great detail. So what he does, he he composed his book, as I told you, he uses this analogy, the cloud bank of shower, which rains a sweet nectar of prema. Okay, so there are 8 showers instead of chapters. He calls this first shower, second shower, third shower, 8th shower. So there are 8 chapters. And what I've done, this first, second, third, so on like that, how I have divided into number of lessons, okay, depending upon how many pages are there, the author devotes in his book, which I just showed you there, like this one, see, Madhurya Kadambini. So first shower, which is about the preeminence of bhakti, and of course that contains Mangalacharana verse also, invoking auspiciousness. So that's a very long chapter. So I divided into lessons 2 through 7. Of course, lesson 1 is our inauguration class with introductory outline and a preview. So now I'm going to show you, I'm going to try to walk you through his book. So it's a brief preview. Lesson 2 to 7 is the first shower. Lesson 8 to 10 is the second shower. And that's all about the sadhana bhakti. The first 3 stages, remember I told you, sadhana bhakti, in there, all the first 3 steps, first 3 of the 9 steps, Shraddha to Prema, they are included in this first shower, second shower, Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, and Bhajana Kriya. Third shower, lesson 11 through 16, that is where we will go through his explanation about sadhana bhakti called Anartha Nivritti, and the elimination of all, that means all the impediments that's on the path of bhakti, they gets eliminated by the dint, by the power of the sadhana bhakti. Okay. Then the fourth shower, lesson 17, that is again continuing the sadhana bhakti. Now we come to the Nishta stage. So all these different stages, the author takes us, explains to us how we develop the steadiness in our bhakti. And that's when the real nectar begins to flow. Okay. So then he also talks about the anistika bhakti also. When there is no steadiness, what happens then? Okay. And same with the bhajana kriya also. There are different, there's the kind of bhajana kriya ought to be, and the bhajana kriya which ought not to be, that also we will see. And then after the Nishta Bhakti, if we properly execute, then we come to this called Ruchi, develop a taste, realization of real transcendental taste that we develop, and that is the fifth shower, lesson 18. Then that leads into the sixth shower, lesson 19. That's where we develop the great attachment, asakti, and that's where we experience the enhancement of the great enchantment. The heart really begins to enjoy getting this prema rasa flowing, experiencing, tasting. A great attachment develops, and then the sadhana bhakti becomes matured into bhava bhakti. The great emotions develop in the heart, and with those emotions, we actually serve the Supreme Lord. The flow of divine bliss, okay? Shanranda Visheshatma, you remember, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, okay? And then that is the beginning, the ray of sun, just like, and the full sunlight, that is the prema bhakti, fully matured, condensed bhakti, the absolute fulfillment of all the soul's yearning, That's the final eighth shower, lessons 22 to 24. So these are the total of 24 lessons. We hope to complete the entire course. I've given you a very, very, very broad outline of the course. The 8 showers, the 8 chapters we will do in 24 lessons. So now we will begin today onwards. Tomorrow onwards actually. Lesson 2 to 7. And there are text mantras are there in this book. So we'll go through the first 6 mantras, the first shower. So lesson 2, that we will see how Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he invokes the auspiciousness, this Mangalacharan verse, okay? Very beautiful verse actually. The same analogy that we saw, Bhakti Raksha, using that same analogy, he explained to us about that, about his prayers to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, humbly requesting to bestow on him the divine blessings. So we, as the follower, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, we also pray for that. Then lesson 3 is Bhakti Devi, that Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, that Bhakti is already there within our heart. What we are doing is reawakening that Bhakti, which is dormant because of the material contamination. So we need to reawaken. It's very much like learning to walk. A child already knows, he has basic instinct how to walk. He just need to awaken that instincts, So bhakti is also like self-manifesting. Unlike the other scholars say that you need jnana and vairagya, renunciation of material pursuits in order to get bhakti. But now, jnana and vairagya is already the byproducts of bhakti. It's only bhakti begets bhakti. So that leads into the 4th lesson. Bhagwan's mercy potency is interested. So how does bhakti come? So very rarely the Lord himself gives bhakti. Usually he sends bhakti process through his associates, like spiritual master. That's how we get bhakti. So Bhagwan's bhakti potency, mercy potency, his mercy, his blessings comes in the form of his confidential devotees who comes in our lives. That's text 4. Then lesson 5, in the absence of bhakti, practices like jnana, karma, yoga, they are fruitful. They are fruitless. We saw the same element. Bhakti Sutra also we saw that, right? Very similar. So bhakti is the one all you need. You don't need jnana, karma, yoga. They are already the byproducts of bhakti. Unlike some philosophers, they say that you need a jnana, atma jnana. First, you have to know that you are not this body, you are pure spirit soul. But that kind of knowledge automatically dawns in our heart by rendering bhakti. Lesson 6, the superiority of bhakti over moksha. So jnanis, their ultimate goal is to become free from the miseries of material existence. But the devotee's goal is not limited to just liberation. Liberation is again a byproduct. You want to render loving devotional service, prema bhakti to the Lord. So that continues beyond even liberation. Liberation automatically you get. And then lesson 7 of this first shower is bhakti begets bhakti. So really, basically, the supremacy of bhakti is established in the very first shower, the very first chapter of his Madhurya Kadambini, that will focus. Okay. Then we get into the second shower, and that we'll do chapter 8, 9, 10. Here are what are the chapter 8, 9, 10. So as I told you in great length, every step of this 9-step Shraddha to Prema, he dissects and leads you, explains to us all these things. So as I told you, this Sadhu Sangha, first Shraddha, then Sadhu Sangha, devotee association, very, very saintly personalities, advanced personalities who serve as a spiritual master. And then he is the one who engages us in this bhajana kriya, And I told you there are impediments. So now he's, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur at great length explains to us what are those impediments. So those are causing misery in our life. So there are 5 kinds of klesha, miseries. And then there are 4 types. So how the misery develops? Why do you suffer? Because something bad deeds that we performed previously. So there are 4 kinds of these sinful acts that we commit, and as a result, sinful reactions, we develop prarabdha karma. They are fructified, prarabdha karma that are not yet fructified, but still they are in the dormant stage, putter, and so on like that. We will go through that, okay? And ultimately, it's the ignorance, So those are things Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is enlightening us about those. So what are the impediments? Why are there? And why they are causing miseries? And how to circumvent, So the auspicious qualities, they are bestowed only by this bhakti process that we will see. And then this elaborates this bhajana kriya, sadhana bhakti, both kinds, the Vaidhi sadhana bhakti and raga sadhana bhakti, raga bhakti. Then that leads us to lesson 9. And that's where this awakening of Shraddha. So we'll learn at great length about the analysis, how and what way this Shraddha in our heart develops further, that the seeds of Shraddha should already be there. So that Shraddha leads to Sadhu Sangha, association with saintly personalities, and this bhajana kriya. So we'll learn all these things, how a beginner, any beginner students, when he enters, is very, very enthusiastic, right? With great enthusiasm, he begins the process. But like any new students, after a while, that enthusiasm gets diluted away, So it comes in waves like that. So that is not the way we should do that. That's what the author explains to us. So this bhajana kriya, we'll see both kinds, performing the practice of devotion. So what are these waves of this bhajana kriya? Comes and goes and like that. So like utsahamayi, filled with short-lived enthusiasm. Enthusiasm is there, utsaha is there, but it's not sustaining kind. It comes and goes like that when we are in the neophyte stage. All these things, that technical terms are there. Don't be bothered about that. We'll go through that, okay? And because steadiness develops later on. So all these things we'll study in this lesson 10, the not proper bhajana kriya. And what is proper bhajana kriya? Okay, let's take a 5 minutes break. Haribol. Okay. Okay, just about a minute. We're almost there. Okay, so now we are into this third shower of nectar, and that is what about elimination of all impediments? Why those impediments are there? Because of what I just told you about this five kinds of this klesha or miseries, and due to these 4 kinds of this papa, sinful acts, all these things we are going to learn here. And the 4 types of anartha. And then there are not only these anarthas we have, the impediments that is causing, but also we commit a lot of offenses, particularly the chanting of the holy name, namaparadhas, 10 kinds. And this is something so important and so nice. As I told you, these courses we are conducting concurrently as well as back to back. Narada Bhakti Sutra, we already did that. And this Prema Vivarta also will going to learn a great deal about this Nama Paradhas. So here also in Madhurya Kadambini also we are going to learn about this Nam Aparadha. Very, very important, because unless and until we guard ourselves against committing this kind of offenses while chanting the holy name, we cannot progress. Because many devotees, they complain that Prabhu, we have been engaged in this bhajana kriya for the last 10 years, and still I'm not getting freedom from these anarthas. Sometimes the whole lifetime goes. So that is the bottleneck, the rate limiting step that blocks our progress further. So that budget, that anartha nivritti is very, very important. That's the reason this third shower is very, very important. And that's why I devoted 6 lessons on that. In the lesson 11, we learn about these 4 types of these anarthas. And then the Nama Aparadha, Seva Aparadha, by taking shelter of this Bhagavad Dharma. There are 2 kinds, right? One is Bhagavad Dharma, that is chanting of the holy name, and serving Srimad Bhagavatam. It is book Bhagavatam and the devotee Bhagavata. That is the part of Bhagavad Dharma. And then there is the other kind of bhakti process. That is Narad Muni introduced that thing. And that is by deity seva. So both must be simultaneously should be there. We serve the deities. When serving the deities, that brings some kind of regularity in our life, punctuality. So these are very, very essential elements in properly rendering sincere devotional service, So both must go hand in hand. Chanting of the holy name, Bhagavad Dharma, and this practical Dharma that is introduced by Narad Muni, that is deity seva. Okay, and we develop attachment for the Lord. So both must be there, and that's how all these obstacles on our path gets eliminated. So we should avoid these aparadhas, offenses. There is the one which hampers our progress. That's why devotees keep complaining that I've been doing it for last 10 years and I'm still not making progress beyond this stage. So these are the reasons. First, because of this aparadhas, offenses that we commit, especially the most serious one is the Vaishnava aparadha. Blaspheming the devotees is almost like blaspheming the Lord himself, to whom you are trying to please. So obviously you want to avoid that. Without the mercy of the senior devotees, the saintly personalities, and if you keep criticizing them, then you cannot make progress. So the first of it. So now we'll go all the. Wait, what happened? So we'll go through in great length all these things. This 10 aparadhas, the chanting of the holy name, repenting. So how when you commit Vaishnava aparadha, sometimes and not deliberately, but inadvertently, not realizing. And then when you see that you have committed such aparadha, then the only way to do that is to really take shelter of the devotee that you offended, So repenting and pleasing that Vaishnava that we offended, So Mahabhagavata can bestow, usually by Vaishnavas, senior Vaishnavas, by nature, they are very, very compassionate. They immediately forgive. But sometimes if it is not, you continue serving them, and ultimately they will notice that you are really repenting for your offense. Disregarding Sri Guru, the third offense. So all these 10 offenses, one by one, Sri Vishnudev Chakravarti Thakur goes and enlightens us how we should take care of that. Then the lesson 13, first type of independent sentient being, such as Lord Narayana, is beyond Maya, the second type of independent sentient being. So we are going to learn about this particular elements, what's called sentient being. What it is, we'll learn about it. I'm not going to spend too much time because I'm just walking you through the course right now. All the technical elements that is going to be resolved. Lesson 14, then we also need to have proper understanding. This is all one of the Nama Aparadhas. Lord Shiva and Lord Vishnu, we must properly understand Shiva Tattva and Vishnu Tattva. Sometimes we get confused about the position, who is superior, Lord Shiva or Lord Vishnu. We should not get into that kind of, but that's an aparadha. That's Nama Aparadha. So that is the second offense to Namaprada actually. And blaspheming of the revealed Vedic scriptures. That's the third one. The fourth offense to the Namaprada, that the scriptures don't criticize. Sometimes there's a built-in contradictions are there, okay? But that doesn't make you give you a right to criticize Shastra, that all Shastra is all wrong. No, it's because our lack of understanding, proper understanding. There are built-in contradictions are there, but they are context-driven, that only our Guru or senior Vaishnavas, they explain. So we have these checks and balances, right? Sadhu, Shastra, Sadhu, Shastra, and Guru. These are the three checks and balances. That's how we understand. They remove the confusion why Shastra makes contradictory statements in this particular incident and how they are context driven. That only our Guru can explain to us and other Siksha Gurus. So all these things we are going to go in great detail in these lessons. Lesson 15. There we will learn these 5 stages, how these anarthas, these impediments can get removed. Very, very important, especially for all of us neophyte devotees. We need to learn. That is how only we make past this rate limiting step, this bottleneck. Unless otherwise we get stuck for the whole lifetime and still cannot make progress. So then the Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives some examples for us to properly understand from Srimad Bhagavatam. There are historical examples like Chitraketu Maharaj, King Chitraketu, how he happened to commit an offense. It wasn't an offense actually, that we will learn at the feet of Lord Shiva. He did that. And again, I'm not going to go into detail, but by giving these historical examples, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur help us to properly understand the principal siddhanta of these things that we are learning. And he also then introduces this Jaya and Vijaya, the doorkeepers of Lord Vishnu, when the 4 Kumaras visit. So initially they blocked their path and the Kumaras got angry and they cursed them to go to the material world and appear as demons, for 3 lifetimes. Lord Vishnu keeps running, to save further damage to his associates. There we learn that actually this is all happened due to the Lord's own arrangement. It was not the fault of the 4 Kumaras in cursing his associates, nor is it actually the offense of these doorkeepers. It was all pre-arranged that we will learn. And that's how this offense is, how they bring about. That we'll also learn by actual examples. And the sequence in which these anarthas arising from impious activities in bhakti are gradually become mitigated, vanquished, that we will learn. It's a gradual path. Okay, slow and steady, and sincerity is very, very important. That is required for us to continue on this path and then make progress. So once you get past this critical step, anartha nivritti stage, then we make, so then it's all downhill from there. So offenders to Nama do not need, one nice thing about this chanting of the holy name, as we know, we all know that even sometimes without realizing we chant Hare Krishna. Good stories, Ajamil story, even just by semblance of it, it has its potency, okay? But properly doing it, the full benefit we derive. So one nice thing about this chanting of the holy name, we don't end up in the court of Yamaraja, okay? Yamadutas cannot come, as the good story of Ajamil, we already learned about that. But Ajamil was saved going to get punishment by the Yamaraj. Yamadutas came But the Vishnu Dutas came because he chanted, even though he chanted without realizing, he was uttering the name of his youngest son, Narayana, that he was named. He named his youngest son, 10th son, because the Bhakti Vedanta sages, I'm sorry, the sages actually had informed him to name this child as Narayana. They knew what's going to happen. So he was actually chanting his youngest son's name in great pain at the last stages of his life. Nonetheless, the potency of chanting the holy name was effective. So that prevented Yamadutas to capture him. Yamadutas helped him, but still that did not qualify him to go back to spiritual world. He had to further actually continue his process. So that is what Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining here, that offenders to the Nam do not meet Yamaraja, but they cannot become yet purified. Their process must go on. The purifying process, the bhakti process must keep on going. So bhakta is free from all the offenses and prarabdha karma, that fructified karma. Even if devoid of prema, the prema bhakti is still not, he has started undergoing external miseries, So Bhagavan personally confers sometimes suffering as devotees to make progress, to increase the longing for them, for the Lord. Sometimes he does, but that is yasyam anugraham, for special mercy, to those advanced devotees, so they can come closer to him. That is not for ordinary devotees. Increase their humility, dainya bhava, that must be developed. That is really most important. And I keep emphasizing that the pride, false pride, must be given up. Only, and that come only by the mercy of the devotees, right? Lord Nityananda mercy, as we learned in Prem Vivarta. But here also the same thing is emphasized further. Only devotee mercies can help us do that. So this Dainya Bhava comes that whatever the talents we may have is nothing at all due to us. People think that it's because of my smartness, my intelligence, I've achieved this thing. No, it's been given to us by the mercy of the Lord, actually, and must be utilized for his service. That kind of realization must be done in the heart. Then this Dainya Bhava develops, because I cannot take any credit. It's already been given to me by the Lord. So how could I be proud of these things? That Dainya Bhava will develop in that even though I'm so sinful, I'm unfit, unqualified, still Lord is showing mercy to me. That realization brings about this Dainya Bhava, intense humility. Okay, then we get into the fourth of the 8 showers. Then once the Anartha Nivrutti stage is over, the Nishtha Bhakti presented in accordance with the sequence written in the Srimad Bhagavatam. So there again, we are going to learn Nishtha Bhakti and Anishta Bhakti. If we don't do that with sincerity, then what happens? All these things. The symptoms of and the 5 obstacles to this Nishtha Bhakti, how to bring steadiness, and the 5 obstacles. So there also, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur help us understand that. And unaffected by emotions arising from passion and ignorance. Not desiring respect for oneself, offering all respect to others. Again, 6 Ashtaka was, remember? Amanina, manadena. The devotees do not expect any kind of respect from others, and yet they themselves respect others. Does not necessarily indicate Nishtha, and Nishtha in Kirtana and so forth is actual Nishtha. There is, in a great detail, we'll learn about this Nishtha Bhakti. Each and every step, and giving the analogy of Bhakti Vraksha, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explains to us. It's an incredible course, really. Then we get in the 5th shower. So now We passed the bottleneck, anatha nivritti. Now we have developed the steadiness in our bhakti. Now what we need to have, ruchi, the taste. Again, the sadhu sangha helps, Sushrushva sadadhana, Vasudev katha ruchi. That continuing serving the saintly personalities help us to get the ruchi. So awakening and symptoms of ruchi that we will learn. Ruchi is the factor that awakens this attachment. So first ruchi must be there. Ruchi means the taste must be there. So bhakti destroys ignorance and awakens a taste for bhakti. So it's bhakti itself begets bhakti, So don't be discouraged. Some of you actually asked this question just not too long ago, right? And I told you that keep doing it. Even if you don't have a taste, keep doing it, because bhakti itself will develop bhakti further, But if you drop out, then you are the loser, So bhakti destroys ignorance and awaken taste for bhakti. Bhakti itself will bring the taste. If the important element is here, continuity. Even if you don't like to dance, Prabhupada said, dance anyway. And then you will learn and enjoy dancing for the Lord. Taste-dependent taste, dependent on external excellence in relation to Bhagavan, and taste not dependent on such external excellences. So both kinds, every step, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur explained to us, Naistik Bhakti and Anaistik Bhakti. Bhajan Kriya proper and improper. Same way here also, we get introduced to that kind of learning process. So despondency, what is despondency? Getting discouraged, not seeing the result, but keep continuing. That's the continuity is the key word. And that gets helped by continuing associating with the saintly personalities, sadhu sangha, be in association with the devotees, especially the advanced devotees. You keep hearing from them. That will bring you attached to bhakti process, even though you think that it's not working, but it is working. Okay, and the sadhus, they will help you keep continuing the process, and then ultimately this taste develops. Ruchi is awakened. And then there are, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti also tells you the symptoms of that when that happens. How can you tell that ruchi is there? He explains that also. So sixth shower goes further. Ruchi pertains to bhajana and asakti pertains to bhajaniya. What is bhajana and bhajaniya difference? Bhajan is the process. Bhajaniya is the person who is doing the process, right? So both are elements actually. So at the stage of asakti, the attachment, the heart is like a clean mirror, an effortless absorption of the mind in Bhagavan's name, form, etc. Krishna Katha, that's where the attachment develops. So Krishna Katha, continually hearing about that. The behavior of one in asakti upon seeing asakti. So how can you tell that you really have this attachment? So what are the symptoms? This is what is explained in this particular mind map. So when you really have a great attachment, you see a sadhu immediately rushing towards him and pay your obeisances. Naturally, you'll keep rushing that. When you really have an attachment, it's just like that when you like a particular song, a movie song, and sometimes somebody's playing in the background somewhere, immediately you rush towards that, come nearer to hear that song, right? Because you have that attachment for that song. This is like that. So when you hear somebody's playing that song, you'll rush toward that personality. So same way here, the sadhu particularly, who is the cause of your attachment, and the sadhu is approaching you from distance, you will immediately rush towards him with great excitement. That's how you can tell that you have an attachment. submission of distress upon receiving darshana of Mahabhagavata, searching for Bhagwan's mercy in the activities of birds and animals, seeing some Brahmana boys as a fourth one. All this, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur help us by giving, actually comparing with the examples from Srimad Bhagavatam. We learn. The seventh shower, that now we come to the bhava stage, the sprouting of the three potencies, Satchit Ananda, the bhava, emotions, ecstasy, that is there. But that is a very rare things to achieve for most of us. It's sudurlabha, extremely difficult. Very few of us can make it to that stage. And sometimes one lifetime is not yet enough, it makes liberation from, so at that stage, bhava stage, liberation is not at all significant to us. We don't care about moksha. Some people are struggling. They're aiming actually. That once I get moksha, I'm done. No, moksha is just the beginning process. You need to go beyond than that actually, So that's why it is called moksha laguta krita. That moksha is such an insignificant goal. Laghu means insignificant. A heart melted with bhava, great emotion toward the Lord and his devotees, drenches the limbs of Bhagavan. So Bhagavan is also very pleased when you come to that stage, a remembrance of Bhagavan in wakeful. So then you remember the Lord all the time. There are three stages, right? That in the wakeful stage, then you sleep, you the dream state, and then there's a deep sleep state. In all three steps, constantly you enjoy the association of Lord Shri Bhagavan. Moving on to so the seventh stage we are continuing. And then most important elements that develops now at bhava stage. This mamatva, that Krishna is all mine. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is all mine, and I am his servant, menial servant. That kind of realization develops in the heart, Remembrance of Bhagavan in wakefulness, then this pure sense of identity, Drasht evatmani Ishwar I told you about, right? That kind of realization gets into, not just that I'm, I'm not this body, I'm pure spirit soul. We need to go beyond that. I'm meant to serve the Lord and his devotees. Possessiveness, mamatva, that develops. Despite attempting to conceal the jewel of bhava, it is identified by the learned. So there are symptoms of that that cannot be imitated. Lesson 21, bhava that arises through raga bhakti. So bhava also coming from, remember there are two paths, right? Vaidhi sadhana bhakti bhava and the raga bhakti. So bhava develops from each of these different routes. There is a difference there. That's what we get to learn in this lesson. So there are different categories of bhava. Transformation bhava into sthayi bhava and all these rasas that we already learned. We are going to revisit that. Remember we learned in Priti Sandarbha course. Some of you are attended that. You'll see that about that alambana and all that elements, vyabhichari bhavas, all that things that we learn. So we're going to revisit that. And the Vraja Krishna is the foundation of all the rasas, especially Vrindavan Krishna, that is called Vraja Krishna, Vrajendra Krishna, not the one in Mathura and Dwarka. Here only we are talking about Vrajendra Krishna, the Krishna in Vrindavan Krishna, because he is the one that's where his sweetness, in his sweet pastimes, that is experienced. So that is what we are going to study in this lesson, lesson 21. And finally, this final lesson, lesson 22, 24, in the final 8th shower. Okay, the prema transforms in lesson 22, the material tendency and devotee's heart into spiritual ecstasy. You are past this material platform. we come into the spiritual platform, we are experiencing that at that level. So Bhagavan then reveals his beauty and his fragrance. In lesson 23, since the devotee is unable to experience the complete sweetness of Bhagavan, Bhagavan himself expands his compassion. Now Lord himself comes at that stage in our life, By the mercy of Bhagavan, the devotee relishes his Madhurya, Rasa, Bhava, ultimate eighth shower. And finally, the final lesson, and the sadhaka's body cannot contain prema. He's so much full of emotions. His heart just cannot feel satisfied. His prema bhakti develops that at that time. And that's a very lengthy topic, actually. Prema bhakti chapter, final chapter. Then finally, author offers prayers. And then Phalastuti also is there for all of us. And that is the walkthrough for the entire course that I just given you very quickly, hurriedly. And the final slide is about the class schedule, tentative class schedule. Okay. And here I will take a pause and see if there are any questions. So we will begin in earnest tomorrow onwards. Haribol. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Wake up, Prabhu.
Hare
Haribol,
Krishna.
Prabhu. Good to see you again. Haribol.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandot Pranam, Prabhu. So, such a nectarious Prabhu, like I think the most important things actually in our spiritual life is anarthas. I think we are going to learn completely. That is a great thing, Prabhu. And from there, how we are improving bhakti. That's really very, very wonderful to know that all these things we are learning, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
All these things,
Yeah.
wonderful. All these courses that we are learning now. Narada Bhakti Sutra we just completed. Prema Vivarta is ongoing. Now we have Madhurya Kadambini. There, each of these courses are talking similar subject matter. So each of them complement. So we are going to really, I think I'm pretty sure you're going to all enjoy that, Great, with great excitement, I'm looking forward.
This is very, very important. Yeah. This is very, very important. As you mentioned, even if you are 10 years, like we're not able to taste. Okay. So I have only one question, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
At one point, there was an example is being picked up where the gatekeepers, okay, Jaya Vijaya offenses against the four munis. In that, like Jay Vijaya got angry, Prabhu. Okay, and they were about to cross that seventh door, and they got angry. So the munis, the four munis, were they were like they were thinking that like they should not be get angry because it is Vaikunta, and it is out of all anxieties. Okay, and then they said like this behavior is not Vaikunta behaviors and go back to your material world. Okay, and that is a kind of curse they have given. So here you mention it as a it's all arrangement of Krishna. So it is because they are direct associates of Krishna. We can think it as a, or maybe Krishna has intervened and it's all made it as Leela. But in our situations, Prabhu, everything is because of our faults, because of our false ego. Can we consider something like that, Prabhu? We do so many mistakes. Okay. So sometimes we think that sometimes during the interactions with the devotees or non-devotees, we think, okay, after having that mistake, we think that okay, maybe it is the God's plan. Sometimes I think in that way.
I'm sorry, Prasad, let me interrupt you.
Yeah.
Don't you rambling? Just be precise what exactly the point you're making and what question you have in mind, actually. Just straightforward.
Yes, Prabhu.
Yeah, what is the point you're making? Now, I understand a little bit what I understood from what you're just saying
So
about the story, Jay and Vijay story, and then how you're relating to what we are discussing here? And what is exactly your question?
So the question is, whatever mistakes we do, it is all because of our false ego. Okay, in this material world. Okay. So, but in that context, so how do we balance it, Prabhu? How do we understand that? Okay, it is because of the God's intervention, or it is because of fully my intervention. How do you understand that, Prabhu? How
Now,
do you balance that?
now that particular thing which I just told you about Jai Vijay's story, the Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur quotes that story in order to discuss that particular point he is talking about. The point that you are talking about is a little bit different, you know. And the two things which is going on actually. Because we committed offenses, okay, especially Vaishnava Prada, sometimes inadvertently, you know, but that nonetheless it is an offense, and we suffer because of that. Suffer in the sense bhakti is there, we are rendering, and still we are not making progress. So that is the problem, not making progress. It's not that bhakti is not working at you, it is there. You come to that point, but to further making progress, that is hindered. So it's like a temporary halt, and you stop and pause yourself and start analyzing what I have done, you know. And in this book, in Madhurya Kadambini, we learn exactly the process of analyzing what's happening to us, what's happening to our progress in the bhakti, what is impending. Not only that, how to get around, how to circumvent, that also we are learning. And in order to understand that, these particular examples from Srimad Bhagavatam is giving the examples through that we learn. So when we actually come to those examples, I think better at that time, we'll talk about exactly what you're talking about, you know. But I think I'm getting a glimpse of it, what you're trying to tell us, you know, what you're trying to ask. I've already got the glimpse of it.
Yes. Hare Krishna.
So is the impediments is due to our sinful acts in the past and the offenses that we still keep on committing. But that humility, Dainya Bhav, we attract the senior Vaishnavas, and they realize that we are still in the neophyte stage. We make mistakes. So they are merciful and they're very patient with us, but we continue serving them in patience, and then we make progress. So slowly but surely we get around our offenses cleared, and that is also by the power of the bhakti that impediments will go away.
Got it. Thank you very much.
We have to first focus in the present, not look too distant, okay, that we cannot see yet. And that the example I give you an analogy of driving in the night, stormy night, and your headlight can see only so much distance. So focus on the present moment, you take care of it, you'll come closer and closer to your goal. But focus on the present moment, how to get around that. So, and continue associating with the devotees. That is your fuel to go forward. You need a gasoline in your power, in your petrol in your car to keep going. Don't make sure your tank is not out of gas, petrol. And petrol is this sadhu sangha. That must be there all the time. And asata sangha, avoid that. Non-devotee association, minimize. You cannot avoid, but minimize. That means you don't keep close contact with them, just for the whatever is needed, that's all.
Got it, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Such a wonderful show, Prabhu. Thank you very much, Prabhu.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna, Saru Prabhu.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I liked your wonderful analogy, Prabhu, of just what you explained. Even though you have a very long destination like the floodlights, just look to your immediate path and ensure that there is gasoline. I think is a very, very powerful message to be remembered, Prabhu. So, Prabhu, I don't know this question, it might be a little too early considering that we are going to dwell into this subject with a great detail. But I always have this question because you yourself was telling today that in Shastras one contradicts the other, and at that time we need to seek the mercy of Guru to get clarity. Because Anartha Nivrutti, when I was reading it somewhere in some articles and when I was listening to some lectures, it is a life after life after life kind of a process. But at the same time, I remember there was a clip which was sent by our Bhakti Vriksha leader in our group, which is Srila Prabhupada's. When one person was asking how long will it take, Srila Prabhupada says 1 minute. So I was just puzzled to understand this contradiction of 1 minute and life after life after life after cleansing of this process. So just wanted to seek your clarity and some understanding, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So Shastra is never wrong. You have to understand in what context that particular statement is being made, you know. If you understand then you'll understand that. You know? Thank you. Any particular question you had in mind?
This one is basically like when Shastra says that it's going to take life after life for the Anartha Nivrutti. Srila Prabhupada was saying in one clip, video, that it would, when one devotee asked how long will it take, he says just 1 minute.
Mm-hmm.
So I wanted to understand.
Patience. Utsaha, Nishcha, and Dhairya. You have to be patient and continuing the process. Process is very potent, very powerful. It will bring its result. Yes, Radha Vinod Prabhuji.
Yeah, Prabhuji, nice example. And Prabhuji, I'm really thrilled to see that, 9 stages of devotional service, right? 9 stages.
Yeah.
These are and how they're intertwined. It is not one after another. And every stage we need a lamppost to see where we stand, right, Prabhuji? That's very important, right? On that, I think this book will give the way synopsis you presented. I'm just getting that glimpse of those things. Again, on that Prabhu's question, so nice, like Srila Prabhupada, we have to understand in which context Srila Prabhupada is talking about. So some people, Srila Prabhupada said, it may take millions of lives. Somebody, it may be moments. So as we'll go through that, we have to see, we know Khatwang Maharaj one moment, right, which was heavenly. One moment was kind of few days here and he went back. We have Dhruv Maharaj 6 months. Why we need, and you are giving every now and then, is anartha. We saw Ajamal's case also. He never offended any devotees. And despite all that, we chant every day, 16 rounds and Ekadashi, all 25, do all those things. But we do offenses unknowingly. You are highlighting again and again on that. I think it gives basically this understanding, like comparing with those are benchmarks, like one moment, Khatwang Maharaj, Dhruv Maharaj, or Ajamel, these are the benchmark, and we have to see where we are there and why we are not going there. So that gives a motivation to us, right, Prabhuji?
Thank you, Prabhuji. So in
Yeah,
Bhagavatam, all these stories that we heard, they are not stories, they are historical accounts. And we have to think manana, constant regurgitation has to be there. And then you will see the connection, what's happening to us in this life and how they sorted out their path. We learn from that and we apply in our lives with the help of senior devotees. That's how we go through that. Sadhu Sangha is the constant, it is the petrol for our car. Without Sadhu Sangha, we cannot go forward.
Yes, Prabhuji, you are always highlighting, and Prem Vaivat Puran, the Prem Vaivat, right? It talks about that.
Yes.
At the end, it comes back only to that. Sadhu Sangha is a must, right, in that book. Prabhuji,
Yes.
It's a wonderful book.
So simultaneously, Sadhu Sangha and rejection of Asata Sangha. Avoid association with the non-devotees. Okay.
Yes.
Any other questions, points? Mataji's?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Nitya Sakhi Mataji, you have a point?
Yes. Hare Krishna. Yeah, Prabhuji, as Prasad Prabhuji said, and now Prabhuji also said, yes, Is it that in the beginning it is a prarabdha karma due to which we do offend, and as we progress on this devotional service, is it that we do nama prad, seva prad, and vaishnava prad? So due
Yeah.
to which we do offend. Yeah, just now Prabhuji also said. So is it that in our case, and it's not like Lord indulges in case of devotees like Chatush Kumar and Jai Vijay, etc. Example we have seen.
Yes. Thank you, Nitya Mataji. Good point you're making.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam.
Yeah, Raksha Mataji.
So wonderful class प्रभु जी मेरा एक क्वेश्चन है, अगर भक्ति लता है जो अगर एक बार सूख गई, हमें आई भक्ति और सूख गई, तो वापस गेन हो सकती है प्रभु जी?
No, one nice thing about bhakti, once it's begin, it never ends. It continues all the time.
मतलब डाउनफॉल होता रहेगा मगर वो कभी vanish नहीं हो जाएगा.
डाउनफॉल कब होता है, मतलब डिस्ट्रॉय नहीं होती है, वो प्रोग्रेस रोक देती है. प्रोग्रेस है ना, वो gets impeded by that, but it never stops. Bhakti once started, it will always continue. It will always continue. It stops our progress. That is what we are focusing on. That is the power of bhakti.
Okay, प्रभु जी, तो प्रोग्रेस हो रहा है वो हमें कैसे मालूम पड़े प्रभु?
Yeah, there are symptoms that's you learn in Madhurya Kadambini. At every step, whether or not you are making progress, there are symptoms to that. At every step, when do you have a nishtha, sincerity? When do you have a taste for it? When do you have an attachment? Every step, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gives a particular elements that you can test yourself, that whether or not you're making progress or whether or not you're stuck at that particular stage or not. So that also he is telling us that, and you yourself will realize. In fact, Krishna also said in Bhagavad Gita, you yourself will know the power of bhakti and how it is helping you, and the enjoyment you feel, the internal pleasure you feel, then by itself you can tell that you are making progress.
Yes, Prabhu.
And when you are not able to get sadhu sangha, you'll start lamenting, you'll feel missing them. That itself tells you that you have an attachment for the sadhus, for the devotee association.
Yes, Prabhuji. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So I'm going to turn over to Sharad Prabhuji, and he is going to enlighten for more on some of the questions that you asked that I may not have properly answered. Sharad Prabhuji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. The first one regarding Prasad Prabhu's question, what I understood is asking, it is in Vaikuntha, and how can the four Kumaras, they come into anger, and how can Jaya and Vijaya, they obstruct their path. If you see, actually, if you read Srimad Bhagavatam, it is very, very clear. Jay and Vijay, they were doing their duty. They were the gatekeepers, and a gatekeeper, he will establish he will allow anybody who establishes the identity. Now, then the other thing is that at the end of that story, even Lord Vishnu, he also tells that what has happened is because I wanted that to happen. It is because of my wish. Therefore, please remember in that story, as Radha Vinod Prabhuji told, there is no fault of Jaya Vijay, there is no fault of the four Kumaras. But the Lord wanted it to happen that way, that's why it happened. Then the second was Satyadevata Prabhuji's question, how it can take many lifetimes and how in an instant we can be purified. Now, as proved in Ajamila's story, if we have not committed any aparadha, then you take the name of the Lord once only, Suddhanam Ucharan, then all 100% of your sins, of your everything gets burned down. But what has happened, we have got aparadhas in our account. They also get nullified, but gradually. Like we will learn here, the sins, the gravest sins like killing a Brahmana, like this, killing a cow, all these things, they are very, very easy to be atoned. They get nullified very easily. But these aparadhas, especially the Vaishnava aparadhas, Seva aparadhas, Nama aparadhas, they take time. And how they are to be atoned, that when we go through the various classes, we'll come to know. That means we have to be very, very careful about the Vaishnava aparadha. And the very fact, the very question is, for years we have been practicing, we are on this path, but we are not progressing as we should progress. It is because of aparadha. But the answer is also given by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. It is, you keep on chanting the name of the Lord, you keep on doing bhakti, and in its own time, it will be nullified. That we have to keep in mind. And then I want to add a few words about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. As Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakura, he says, that in that century, that is 1600 to 1700, the guardian of this Gaudiya Dharma, Gaudiya Vaishnava system, this was guarded by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura, he was born in a divine family of the Brahmanas in the Nadia district in West Bengal, where Mayapur is there in that district. And on birth, his name was Harivallabha. And he had two elder brothers also. And during his childhood, he completed his study of grammar in the village itself. And at that time, he had studied various devotional scriptures in his village only. And as you know, he is known for, later on he wrote the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Bindu, that is a commentary on Rupa Goswami's Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Ujjala Nilamani Kirana, that is a commentary on Ujjala Nilamani. Bhagavatamrita Karna, and like many things, and many books. And as told by Prabhuji, he renounced household life at a very early age, and he went to Vrindavana, and there he went and wrote many books and commentaries. And after disappearance of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the six Goswamis of Vrindavana, now this Suddha Bhakti, unalloyed devotion, continued to flow the influence of three great personalities in the community. The three are Narottam Das Thakur, Srinivas Acharya, and Shyamananda Prabhu. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is the fourth in the line of disciplic succession, coming from Narottam Das Thakur. Now, how fourth? A disciple of Narottam Das Thakur, Sri Ganganarayan Chakravarti, his daughter was married to one, the Radharaman Chakravarti, and the Radharaman Chakravarti, he was the spiritual master of Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And in many the literatures, many books, he has tried to clarify what our acharyas, especially Rupa Goswami and others, what they have said, what they have discussed. He has explained those things very clearly. But please remember that he is also very, very controversial. Many thoughts we have earlier read, they are in contrary to Rupa Goswami and Jiva Goswami, and we have seen that is the Parakya Bhava regarding that. And as I told you, he had the honor of Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya. He protected the honor of the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya during his time, and the antagonistic Vaishnavas at some point of time they were opposed to worshipping Radha and Krishna, and how his disciple, when he was very old at that time, how his disciple he protected the Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradaya in Jaipur and defeated the Sri Vaishnava Sampradaya and the worship of Radha and Krishna again was continued in the royal family, and thereafter by everything. And this individual was Baladev Vidyabhusana. And for information of the devotees, Baladev Vidyabhusana actually comes from a place where you would have heard the story of Khirachara Gopinath, that is in Chaitanya Charitamrita, that is in Odisha, that is about 200 kilometers from Bhubaneswar and 200 kilometers from Calcutta. In that place, he took birth. Like this, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is a very, very prominent Acharya, but very controversial also. His views, you should read them carefully. Otherwise, you are bound to commit offenses against him. With this, I come to an end of my comments. And as we go through the lectures, especially lectures 11 to 18, which I will be taking, which anarthas and other things, that we'll be discussing in very, very great detail. And we'll be giving examples also. And please think of questions, or if you have got any clarification to be asked at that time, please ask. We'll try to clarify them. Because in this book, what Prabhuji was showing, it gives very, very clearly. And if you have got this book, it is in the internet also. You can download from the internet. You may read that, and there are other versions also. But this book is very, very good, and it gives a lot of explanations, giving directly from the commentary of Srimad, from Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in Sanskrit. Then it explains very lucidly. If you get time, please read through that, and then the understanding will be much better. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Ravi Mata, you have a point here?
Wonderful, wonderful session, Prabhuji. Especially when you give us with the examples, it is easy for us to relate. And I'm looking forward to it to get rid of those anarthas also. So thank you so much, both Shari Prabhuji and Sharad.
Prabhuji, there is question in chat box, Prabhuji, by Sanjeev Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. So time is up now. So I'm going to request Saga Prabhu to conclude the class if he's there. Haribol, Saga Prabhuji.
Okay. Hare Krishna, Charu Prabhu and Sharad Prabhu, first wonderful session for this class today. Namaste Narasimhai, Namaste Narasimhai, Prahlad Dahini, Prahlad Dahini, Hiranyakasi Purvakshar, Hiranyakasi Purvakshar, Tilatankar Nathali, Tilatankar Nathali. Ito Narsingha, Bharato Narsingha, ito Narsingha, Parato Narsingha, ito yami, ito Narsingha, ito yami, ito Narsingha, Bhai Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, Bhai Narsingha, Hriday Narsingha, Narasingha Madhi, Saranam Prapade, Narasingha Madhi, Saranam Prapade, Vakala Kamala Bhare, Nakadbhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakasipur Tanu Bringam Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Tavakala Kamala Bhare Nakadbhuta Singam Dalita Hiranyakasipur Tanu Bringam Kesavadhita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare Jai Jagadish Hare नरसिंहदेव भगवान की जय, भक्त प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शिला प्रपात की जय, चारु प्रभु की जय, शरद प्रभु की जय, गुरुदेव की जय, ऑल assembled devotee की जय बस। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी।